Hello, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Open Mic here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. And on the John Campea Show every day, we save a little bit of time for some live questions, but on Open Mic, that's all we do, all wide open topics and questions. And if I want to start off, normally we dive right into the questions, but today I want to start off with a couple things. One great happy one really sad one. We'll start off with the sad one. And that's, I just got back from my screening of Deadpool 2. That's not the sad part, but in the moments before the movie started, I saw the ping come across my phone that our Lois Lane, Margot Kidder, had passed away. And only 69, like she died so young. I mean, obviously she's had a number of health issues in her life and all that kind of stuff, but good Canadian girl. Passed away at 69, and now we've lost Superman and Lois Lane, and it's just horrible to hear. I don't know many details other than that. Most people don't know many details at this point, but yeah, you'll be missed, Margot Kidder. You will be missed. On to some lighter, more fun stuff. Just got back, as I said, literally walked in my door about 20 minutes ago from seeing Deadpool 2. Oh my goodness. Now, we're going to go over some people's reactions, but you know what? Let me read you, because they did say we could put out Twitter reactions. Let me read you my Twitter reaction, because I can't review it. My review will go up tonight. The review embargo lifts at 8 p.m. tonight, so I can't actually do my review. But let me at least read for you what I tweeted out, because I was allowed to tweet. I wrote, Deadpool 2, holy crap, it's incredible. It might top the first one. Stay for the after credits. It's very important. My body hurts. I laughed so hard. But it's not just me. Let's go over and take a look at some of the other early reactions coming out of Deadpool 2. So Mike Ryan, who I know, writes, I didn't like the first Deadpool. Shame on you, Mike. I love the first Deadpool. Anyway, I didn't like the first Deadpool. Deadpool 2 beat me into submission until I was actually enjoying myself. It also features now my favorite post-credit scene. You know what the funny thing is? I heard a bunch of people saying, best post-credit scene ever, which you always think is hyperbole. Best post-credit scenes ever. Stick around for the post-credit scenes. They are simply the best I've ever seen. All right, Matt Singer. I like Deadpool 2 more than the first one, which I wasn't a fan of. Slow to start, but all the stuff with X-Force and Cable and Peter works surprisingly well. Kate writes, Deadpool 2, I'll say this, it earns the hell out of that R rating. Yes, it does. And the cameos and the post-credit scenes. Sean O'Connell writes, so Deadpool 2 is the perfect sequel. Doubles down on everything that fans love about the original and fixes some of that film's issues. Huge laughs that will play the audience like a fiddle. Ryan Reynolds destroys as Wade. Great action, fantastic comic nods, a killer ride. Nigel M. Smith writes, just saw Deadpool 2. Safe to say it features the best post-credit scenes ever. I'm still recovering. He follows it up with, Deadpool 2 is no doubt the most violent major release since Kill Bill Volume 1. It's also funnier, and the first has me genuinely excited for a sequel. Oh, and it features a ton of Canada jokes, so of course I love it. And of course you know that the Canada jokes played well with me as well, so I had to throw that in there. Alex writes, and hey listen, before any of you go bandwagoning saying, that's impossible, wait till you see the movie. Alex writes, Deadpool 2 is better than Infinity War. Deadpool 2 is better than Infinity War. Let that sink in for a second. Now, I'm not saying you're going to think that. I'm not even saying I know for sure if I think that. But I remember walking out of the theater, like walking down the stairs from the theater thinking, I may have enjoyed that more than Infinity War. Now, make no mistake, these are two very different films from each other, okay? Massively different films from each other. But I gotta see it. I've already got my tickets for AMC Prime on Thursday, and I'm gonna go see it again. But I may have enjoyed this movie more than Infinity War. Don't hold me to that yet. Let me see it again. But Alex isn't going to be the only person you hear saying that. I mean, it's just pretty damn, but again, they're very different films from each other. So yeah, try not to get caught up in that too much. All right, we move on here. Rachel Simon writes, Where did Rachel go? Oh no, I was skipping over. I skipped over Ben. Sorry. The post-credit scene at the end of Deadpool 2 is so great. Rachel Simon writes, like Deadpool 2 way more than the first, smarter, funnier, and with 100% more Ricky Baker. Let's see. Jason Guerrero writes, the credit scene in Deadpool 2 is the best one ever done to date in any superhero movie. I am dead serious about this. Hashtag do not leave when the credits start. And again, guys, that cannot be emphasized enough. Do not leave when the credits start because you're going to miss something truly, truly special. I love this one. Comes from Barry Hertz, who writes, Deadpool 2, a 113-minute honest trailer that steals its best scene from MacGruber, Josh Brolin's third best summer movie, criminal misuse of Julian Dennison, your 10-year-old son's new favorite movie. It will make $1+ billion. Listen, guys, I myself cannot offer much more commentary until 8 p.m. tonight, and I am going to be putting up my review at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time tonight. But just to reiterate, we're hearing from a lot of people. This is funny film. The action is fantastic. It takes this genre within a genre that the first Deadpool created and builds on it. It's just an incredible look. When you go to movies just for an experience, and if you're going into a movie just looking to be entertained, my God, like full credit. I mean, I'm sure Ryan Reynolds himself had fuck all to do with the quality of this movie, but still huge props and congratulations to everybody involved, including Ryan Reynolds. I mean, what they did in this movie, what they have done with this franchise is just stupid good. And pay attention to the opening credits, stay for the end credits, and enjoy the hell out of everything in between. So that's all that I can really talk about or say for now about Deadpool 2. I'm just, it's days like today. There are movies that I watch like The Help, and then there are other movies like that just make me so. It reminds me about why I'm a film fan. Watching Deadpool 2 just once again reminds me why I'm a film fan. It's just, I'm just glowing about it. I don't know if you can tell. I'm just glowing about this damn movie. Anyway, let's get on to some live questions, guys, because you guys have been sending in some live questions. So let's get to those things right now. I'm sure some of you guys want to talk about Deadpool 2. Some of you guys want to talk about a whole bunch of other stuff. So let's get into it. And the first question today comes to us from Jerry Lohnberg, who writes, will you do a solo spoiler discussion? I would watch it. Yes, we are going to do, by the way, so the next 2 Sundays, we have 2 big spoiler discussions we're going to do. On Sunday at 2 p.m., this Sunday at 2 p.m., we are replacing Jedi, I almost said the name of my old show. We are replacing Star Wars Talk with a Deadpool 2 spoiler review. So Sunday at 2 p.m., this Sunday at 2 p.m. is a Deadpool 2 spoiler open discussion, much like what we did with Avengers Infinity War. The following Sunday, we will be doing at Sunday at 2 p.m. in lieu of Star Wars Talk, we are going to be doing a solo spoiler open discussion. So we've got big spoiler discussions both Sundays. We got this Sunday, it's the Deadpool 2, that's going to be at 2 p.m. And next Sunday, we got the solo spoiler discussion. Make sure you're around for us. So make sure you get out and see the movies, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. I'm putting it on Sunday to give you guys plenty of time to get out and see it. Make sure you join us for that. And so, yes, there is going to be a solo spoiler discussion next Sunday. The Deadpool one is this coming Sunday. All right. History Soup writes, they dropped Lucifer but kept Gotham. Insanity. Yeah, it is insanity. Lucifer is the vastly superior show, but again, it's about numbers. And if they thought, we're not getting enough numbers to hold on to it, fine. I just need somebody else to pick up Lucifer. Somebody else pick up Lucifer, for heaven's sakes. I still haven't watched the season finale yet. And I refuse to call it the series finale because I gotta hold out hope that somebody has the foresight to pick up this incredible show. Anyway. Okay, next one. Comes to us from Josh Crichton, who writes, I remember you saying you've been to Rochester, New York a few times. I've been there a couple of times. In order for me to believe you, let me ask you this. Have you had a garbage plate before? No, I have not. And don't get me wrong, I have never lived in Rochester, New York, but I have been through. All right, let's go to the next one. Murray writes, can't wait for Supernatural season finale. I love Carry On My Wayward Son, Never Gets Old. For those of you who don't watch Supernatural, they have this wonderful tradition with Supernatural. Every year, you know how most shows do like a previously on such and such, and they show you a little recap, right? Well, every year on the season finale, they kind of do a recap, not just of last episode, but of the season. They do a recap of the season. And as they're doing the recap of the season, they play Carry On My Wayward Son. And it is a wonderful tradition that they started. And it's hard to build traditions like that with shows that don't last as long as Supernatural. Because Supernatural's going into its, 15th season? But it is one of the best traditions on television. And I always get kind of chills when I turn on Supernatural and Carry On My Wayward starts playing, right? Because you know it's the season finale. You know you're about to watch a summary of the entire season that you just watched in like a minute. And then it's going to dive into it. And it's the perfect song for it. It's like I said, just one of the best traditions on television. All right. Ben Rayner writes, I know you didn't like Zemo in Civil War, but I found him quite effective and personal. I understood where he was coming from, and he's a villain that won. That's the thing to me. Really? I'm sorry, but when you really sit down and analyze, this is why I don't like Zemo. Yes, I understood where he was coming from. He had all the makings of a good villain, but ultimately at the end of the day, his role to me was useless. Because really, if you analyze everything, the Avengers end up where they would have ended up eventually anyway without the Zemo character even being there. And that's why, to me, the Zemo character was pretty much useless. Because one way or the other, the whole course of the Avengers storyline was leading to that same basic conclusion anyway. They were heading in that direction. Like maybe Zemo as a character did a little nudging here and there, but for the most part, he was kind of a useless character. He was pretty much unnecessary. You could have gotten to that same place narratively without him as a villain. And that's why he's never really worked for me, which is crazy because I love Daniel Bruhl. Daniel Bruhl's a remarkable actor, and I was all excited that he was playing Zemo. But yeah, I mean, I really like Winter Soldier, or Civil War, I should say. I really like Civil War. Obviously, I love that movie. But, yeah, I've just never been down with Zemo. Anyway, Paul writes, a few articles suggest that DC Universe streaming service could save Lucifer. Do you think it gets picked up by DC or any other streaming service? I mean, look, there's lots of options. There's Amazon Prime. There's Hulu. But then, beyond that, there's NBC, there's CBS, there's other major networks could pick it up as well. The DC one, look, if DC picks it up, great. That'll give me an excuse to get there to subscribe to their service. The only reason I don't see that happening, and I'm not saying bank on this, I'm just saying the one reason I don't really see it happening is because DC streaming, this would be a show that is so different from everything else they're putting on their network. And you say, but John, it's based on a comic book. Yeah, I know it's based on a comic book, but realistically speaking, it's just, in form, it's a cop procedural show, which really doesn't fit in with what DC's doing on their streaming service. But like I said, if they do pick it up, I'll be in their debt and it will make me subscribe to their service. Because I'm not planning on subscribing to their service right now. There's just not enough shows that they're doing that interest me. Although the Swamp Thing does interest me, but not enough for me to get the service just for one show. They put Lucifer on it, you've got a new subscriber. Are you paying attention, DC? You pick up Lucifer, you've won another subscriber. So there we go. All right, let's see. Next up is Adamus95. And Adamus95 writes, best part of Lucifer was that theme song. Sing it with me, John. Being evil has a price. Want to know my name right now. Better think twice. Like, I always love that opening. Yeah, the music is always, again, it gives me chills because it makes me think an episode of Lucifer is about to start. Let's see. Murray writes, is it against the review embargo rule if you tell us if you saw space whales in Solo? Well, you know what? It's probably something I very easily could have put in a tweet. You know what? I'll just go out and tell you anyway. I'll tell you because it's not a spoiler. It is something I easily could have put in a tweet. It's not space whales. Anyway, there we go. So I'll tell you. That's all I'll say. I won't say anything else. And don't forget, the review embargo lifts tomorrow, so my review of Solo goes up tomorrow. So keep your eyes open for that. Josh Crichton writes, working a outline for a new book called Reynolds Hotel, New York City post World War II. By the way, you're in it as the piano player named Giovanni Burton. Well, thank you so much, Josh. I appreciate that. I love making cameos and things. Good luck on writing that. As somebody who's written a book, I have an incredibly profound respect for people who do it because I know it was almost impossible for me to do it. So I have huge amounts of respect for people who can do it. It's crazy. All right, here. Hector Jetter writes, hand-to-hand combat, Thanos versus Kratos. Who wins? Probably Kratos. I'm guessing. Yeah, in pure hand-to-hand, like, if you're saying just pure hand-to-hand skill, take power out of it, I'm probably going to go Kratos. Thanos is amazing at hand-to-hand, obviously, but his main thing is he's the most powerful being in the universe. Kratos is no slouch, obviously, but my guess would be, well, ultimately, it all depends on who writes it. Whatever the writer decides wins, that's who wins. But to me, I'm going to go out on a limb and say if power level wasn't an issue and just pure hand-to-hand combat skills, I'll go out on a limb and say Kratos. Let's see here. Next one is Murray, who writes, do you think we will ever get to see John Winchester again? We did get to see Mary. Well, remember, we did get to see John Winchester again after he died in the show. Like, they went back to him before. They go back to Bobby all the time. And remember, I always forget the name of the guy who plays John Winchester. Hold on a second. It's Negan. Here, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Thank you. So Jeffrey Dean Morgan and the guys from Supernatural, they constantly tweet at each other publicly. Like, I remember shortly after the last season of Walking Dead started, do you remember, for those of you who watch Supernatural, this is great. Now, for those of you who know nothing about Supernatural, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who plays Negan in Walking Dead, and he played the comedian in Watchmen, and he's done a bunch of other good stuff. Anyway, and he's Thomas Wayne in Batman vs. Superman. He's got this bat called Lucille, right? It's a baseball bat with barbed wire around it. On one of the first episodes of this season of Supernatural, the boys, Sam and Dean, in the trunk of the Impala, they keep a bunch of weapons, right? For fighting monsters and supernatural creatures. And they open the trunk and they go to put a weapon away, because they just finished a job, and it's Lucille. It's the bat with barbed wire all around it, and goes, no wonder Dad, now I know why Dad loved this thing so much. Dad being John Winchester, who was playing Negan on Walking Dead at the time. So they were constantly, and then Jeffrey Dean Morgan tweets at the guy saying, how many times do I have to tell you boys not to touch my stuff? Like, it's just great. So it's clear there's still like a connection there, and there's still a relationship there. I would love to see Jeffrey Dean Morgan pop back up, even just in one episode. Even because I don't care how much he does. I don't care if he's Negan. I don't care if he plays the new Batman in a Flashpoint somewhere down the road. I don't care. He will always be John Winchester to me. I just love him in that role. Anyway. Okay, History Soup writes, last Lucifer, 2.89 million viewers. Last Gotham, 2.1 million viewers. Yeah, don't ask me. Why Lucifer gets chopped and Gotham stays on the air. And don't get me wrong, I wasn't cheering for Gotham to get cut off the air or anything like that. But someone's got to explain it to me. How does Lucifer get axed while Gotham is safe? I don't get that. Anyway, Hector Jetter writes, Great you picked Gladiator, because I just picked up the 4K version of it. Can't wait for movie club. I still get chills when he reveals himself to Commodus. Oh my God. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know what Hector Jetter's talking about, we are starting a thing called Movie Club, and it's going to be once a week. It's going to be Sundays at 4 p.m. And maybe once every 2 weeks, something like that. But we're going to start off with one a week and just see how it goes. But so the idea of Movie Club is I'm going to, and it kind of came spurred off of what we did with the Avengers Infinity War open spoiler discussions, that everybody had so much fun just being able to talk open, picking a movie and just everybody talking openly about it. So we're going to take a different movie every week, or maybe every 2 weeks, depending on how we go, and just talk about it for an hour. So we're starting off this coming Sunday at 4 p.m. and our first movie is, as Hector just pointed out, Gladiator, the Academy Award Best Picture winning film Gladiator with Russell Crowe, Joaquin Phoenix, one of just amazing all-time film. It's incredible. So that is one we're starting with this coming Sunday. Make sure you join us. All right. Next one comes to us from Warren Lucas. And Warren Lucas writes, previously I asked you over under 170 million opening weekend for Deadpool. You said way under. After seeing it, do you care to change your mind? No, I'm going to stick with under. The tracking for it right now is 150. And the fact of the matter is, Avengers Infinity War is still out. So Avengers Infinity War, we'll take a little, again, it's not going to hurt Deadpool significantly, but it is going to have a little bit of an impact. So I'll take the under 170 million. But I mean, the tracking could be right on, right around $150 million. The tracking could be right on. Got to keep in mind, it is an R-rated film. Not everybody can go to see it, yada, 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 yada. So no, I'm still going to stick to the under. I mean, it would be great. This movie deserves to make all the money it makes. It would be great if it breaks 170. I'll be having celebrations with everybody if it does go over 170. That would be awesome. But R rating, Infinity War is still going to be doing some business of its own, things like that. I'll take the under 170. Maybe a hugely under 170, but I'll still take the under 170 on that. Let's see. Kal-El writes, hi, John. Appreciate the great work you do. Thank you so much, Kal-El. My question is, I'm coming to LA for vacation and wonder, is it better to stay near Hollywood or downtown? Oh, don't stay downtown. No, I don't like downtown LA at all. I try to avoid going to downtown LA whenever I can. Honestly, I just don't like, and a bunch of people in downtown LA going, hey, but I don't like downtown LA. So I would stay Burbank, Pasadena, stay in Santa Monica if you want to go all the way west. Stay near Hollywood. Yeah, for sure. But I wouldn't stay in downtown LA. That's just my personal preferences, but that's my advice. As a Canadian, that's my advice. All right. Rob Lau writes, R.I.P. Margot Kidder, my generation's Lois Lane. No, she is Lois Lane. She's not one generation's Lois Lane. No, she's Lois Lane. There are others who have come along that have carried the mantle for Margot Kidder, but make no mistake, it has always been Margot Kidder's mantle. And there are others who have admirably carried the mantle for Margot Kidder, but it's been for Margot Kidder. Margot Kidder is Lois Lane. She's not your generation's Lois Lane. She is Lois Lane. And until somebody comes along and really crushes the Lois Lane role, it's just going to be some people doing a very good job carrying the mantle for her, but that's what they're doing. They're carrying the mantle for her. She is Lois Lane, and she always will be to me. So anyway, there's that. Nathan Oswald writes, the ultimate crossover, King Kong versus Godzilla versus Alien versus Predator versus Batman versus Superman versus Freddy versus Jason versus Dominic Toretto, and in the end, of course, Dominic Toretto wins. Look, while we've brought it up, I am curious about this King Kong versus Godzilla movie. I am curious about it. A part of me, because neither Godzilla nor King Kong did bank at the box office. Like, they both did okay. They both did well. But neither of them, like, blew the box office mind or anything like that. Will people still modestly come out and support it? Or will having King Kong versus Godzilla make more people come out for it? I honestly don't know. I'm not saying they will. I'm not saying they won't. I'm just saying I honestly don't know. I am kind of curious about that to see how that's all going to kind of shake out. But again, we'll find out soon enough, I guess. All right. Next one comes to us from Devontae Brown, who writes, sorry you hate it, but yes, S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 6. Fuck yeah, I haven't seen the finale yet. I've got it on my Hulu. I'll probably watch it today. As soon as I'm done this show, and I might actually have to cut today's show a little bit short because I've got to record my Deadpool 2 review and get it over to Jonathan, fact checker Jonathan, so he can start editing it because I've got to have it up tonight. But yes, tonight I will watch the season finale of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Here's hoping it finishes strong. That's all I can say. You seem to have liked it, which is good, but I mean, I'll have to wait and see. Hector Jetta writes, this Thursday and next Thursday, can't wait. Deadpool/Solo, Dolby Prime all the way. The DFX at Galaxy was my go-to screening, but now I prefer Prime. Hey man, as long as you get to watch these movies, because these are movies you're going to want to watch in your favorite theater. If I had to pick one over the other, I might pick Deadpool 2 over Solo. Actually, no, I think I will. I think I like Deadpool 2 even more than I like Solo. Make no mistake, I enjoyed the hell out of Solo. I really do. I might even prefer, but I think I even prefer Deadpool 2 over it. But regardless, whichever one you prefer, it is a back-to-back weeks with some incredibly entertaining, fun times at the cinema. It's just being able to go to Deadpool and then Solo is a great week, back-to-back weeks. It's just, you're going to have a good time, and I'm glad you're going to be able to watch it in whatever your particular choice is for your favorite theater. That's awesome. All right, let's move on here. Logan Logan James Canaston, I'm going to say, says, I really enjoyed the first part of the interview with Erin. She's so knowledgeable and her stories are incredible. Guys, if you haven't had a chance to see it yet, I did an interview with Erin Cummings. Now, you may not recognize the name, but she's probably been in about 8 of your favorite shows at one point or another. She's had a few of her own shows, and she's been guest stars on some other shows. She's been in some movies and all that kind of stuff. But she is an amazing storyteller, like almost Kevin Smith level of storytelling. Not quite Kevin Smith level, but almost Kevin Smith level storytelling. And I did part 1 of an interview with her. It was like 40 minutes long, and I edited that down. I edited a ton of stuff out, but it's down to about 40 something minutes, and that's part 1. And she just tells such a great set of stories about, first of all, it gives you a really good idea about how Hollywood works. Her telling her stories gives you an insider's perspective on how Hollywood works, some terrible things that have happened to her, some amazing things that have happened to her, her landing her first gig, agents she has. She just tells great stories. Now, we didn't even get around to other stuff we need to cover in parts 2, and there's going to be 3 parts to this interview. But in parts 2 and part 3, we still got to get around to her cancer battle. We got to talk about Spartacus. We're going to talk, still got a ton of stuff to talk about, but part 1 of the interview is up on my YouTube channel. If you have not watched it yet, you should go watch it. And because everybody who's watching it is just falling in love with her, and you will too. So go over to my channel. It's like the top video on my channel. Check it out, enjoy it. I think you're going to get a big kick out of it. I really do. So thanks for bringing that up, Logan. I really appreciate that. All right, let's move on here. Jonathan Camacho writes, hey, John, was wondering how the increased price of movie tickets affects us and the entertainment industry as a whole. I'm giving a speech soon and would love some of your insight. Bring on the filthy. Well, on the one hand, Jonathan, the answer is obvious. How does increased ticket prices affect us? We pay more. That's pretty much the start and the end of it. Ultimately, the effect on us is that it costs us more to go to the movies. The more it costs to go to the movies, the less likely people who are tight on money will go to the movies. It's not rocket science. And yet, Hollywood just seems to... I'm going to not go full rant on this because I know I have a tendency to go full rant whenever I start talking about this issue. But it just astounds me that the movie theater industry, the theater industry side of it and the studio side of it don't get their heads out of their asses and start to address the problem. Let's see. Fewer people are coming to the movies today than last year or the year before or the year before. Fewer people are coming to the movies. What should we do? I know. Let's increase the price of a movie ticket. Which therefore becomes a systemic problem. It becomes circular. Less people are coming to the movies, so the movie industry's bright idea to compensate for that is to raise movie ticket prices, which will only perpetuate the problem that now increased movie ticket prices will cause even fewer people to come to the movies, which then again, the brain trust in Hollywood will go, oh, the number of people went down again. Well, let's raise the ticket prices again, which will then cause another effect of even fewer people coming to the movies, and so on and so on and so on. They are going to kill themselves. The industry is going to kill itself eventually. If they don't get their heads out of their collective asses and realize they need to stop worrying about how do we compensate? Because here's the problem. Right now, Hollywood, they're putting their attention to how do we compensate monetarily for fewer people coming to the movies? That's what they're putting their attention on. And so, since that's where their attention is, how do we compensate for the fact that fewer people are coming to the movies? Then they come to solutions like raise ticket prices. That will compensate for the fewer people coming. Didn't we do a good job just solving that problem? See, the problem is they're putting the attention on the wrong problem. They shouldn't be paying attention to the issue of how do we compensate for fewer people coming. They need to turn their attention to how do we get people to come back to the theaters. Not how do we compensate for fewer people coming. Forget that. Put your attention to how do we get people back into the theaters. Raising movie ticket prices is not how you get more people to come to the theater. Sorry, it's just not. That's not the solution. And you go ahead. You have a big party about how, oh my God, we just had the biggest April in cinematic history at the box office. Good for you. Great. That's wonderful. But it's the orchestra, it's the violinists playing on the deck of the Titanic as the Titanic sinks. That's what it is. Great. You just had the biggest April. Wonderful. But you're doing so at the cost of the future of the industry. Because next year is going to be hard. And the year after that's going to be hard. And until the theaters and the studios get together, take their attention off, stop being so fucking short-sighted. Stop worrying about how do we compensate for the lack of people coming and instead start thinking, how do we get people to come back? Until they start turning their attention to that, the problem's just going to get worse. So anyway, there's that. Let's see here. Sorry, I had a big jump. La la la. Okay, here we go. Rodrigo Ortiz writes, John, I watch your show way too damn much. That last night I had a dream that UFC had a Dominic Toretto versus Khabib fight, and Dominic won and kept saying family. Well, yeah, there you go. That probably is a sign you watch my show too much. By the way, I can't wait to watch Khabib fight again. By the way, the card. I don't want to get too much into the UFC stuff, but oh my God, the card this weekend was amazing. That Gastelum Jacare fight, oh my God, that was a great fight. That was a great fight. The Lyoto Machida knockout of Vito Belfort, just front kick to the face, put his lights out before his head even hit the ground. It was a great card. The main event was not so good, but the rest of the card was fantastic. I just loved it. All right. Here we go. Hector Jetter writes, Next time you go to Disneyland, you need to pick up the Infinity Gauntlet cup. My friend went this weekend and surprised me with it. It's awesome. I have not even seen this cup, but you have increased my curiosity. Now I want to see this Infinity Gauntlet cup. So I will check. I'll keep my eyes open for that. Chris Parker writes, how great would it be if Patreon and YouTube could talk to each other via API? Example, could offer team level members 5 free super chats. I mean, that would be great. I mean, I got to figure something out, to be honest with you. Because I have people who support me on Patreon, and I try to compensate that by giving Patreon members priority when it comes to email questions for the John Campea Show. But even then, I only get like 2 or 3 Patreons sending emails a day. So I think my Patreon supporters are just, the majority of my Patreon supporters, I think, are just, they just want to support the channel. You know, they're not looking to get questions answered. They're not looking for, even though I give them the benefits of audio only versions of the shows and the Facebook group and some behind the scenes videos and stuff like that, I have been finding that in my communication with most of my Patreon supporters who, I mean, my God, my channel wouldn't even exist without them. Most of them are just, yo, don't worry about it, Campea. We just want to support the channel. We just like what you do, and we just want to make sure you're able to do what you do. So there you go. I mean, and I've just found that's been the attitude of most of my Patreon supporters. And there's a bunch of you guys who are not Patreon supporters, but you support me by like a couple times a week, some of you almost every day, like sending in chat questions, which don't just support the channel financially. They also keep the conversation going. You guys give the topics, which is great. So I've found that there's been this kind of natural separation between the people who are like the core supporters of this channel, which are the Patreon supporters. Just, hey, we're just here to support the channel. We just want to make sure these shows go on. And then the people who are big active supporters of the channel via super chats and stuff like that. But I mean, I just can't do it without both sides. I mean, it's just been incredible. And it's just, I'm not an adequate enough wordsmith to properly put into terms how grateful I am to all of you who make this channel possible. And it just floors me. And the fact that because of all your support, guys like Fact Checker Jonathan and guys like Ray, they're still employed because you guys make it possible for me to pay them to do the work to make the channel work. I mean, it's just all thanks to you guys. I can't put it adequately enough into words, so I'm just going to stop blabbing right now. Let's see. Cobra writes, R.I.P. Margot Kidder. Yeah, I mean, the one true and forever Lois Lane. Completely share your sentiments, Koba. Really do. R.I.P. Margot Kidder, indeed. Chris Parker writes, I'm finding Force Awakens is aging very well. There's a great spirit of fun, adventure, and mystery to it. I know he has his detractors, but I'm super happy that Lucasfilm got JJ back to direct Episode 9. Oh, I love The Force Awakens. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't crack the original 3 films. Like, to me, the best 3 films in Star Wars are still Star Wars, Empire, and Return of the Jedi. Those are still the best 3. But I think The Force Awakens is next. And then so either Solo or Rogue One. I'm still struggling about which one I like even more. Solo or Rogue One. They're both great. And then The Last Jedi, which I quite enjoy, and then we get into the prequel territory after that. But yeah, you're right. I have so much fun. It's one of those situations where I kind of appreciate and like Force Awakens more every time I watch it. Great adventure, great fun, and I'm very curious to see which direction JJ goes with it when we get into Episode 9. All right, Matthew Leach writes, now that you've seen Deadpool 2, does it make you more excited for Leach's next movie, Hobbs and Shaw and The Division? In particular, Hobbs and Shaw, because I think if you look at those 2 particular projects, the one most like Deadpool 2, and nothing's like Deadpool 2, but the most like Deadpool 2, that's going to be very tongue-in-cheek, lots of action, lots of violence, lots of humor, is going to be Hobbs and Shaw. For those of you who don't know what Hobbs and Shaw is, it's a Fast and Furious spin-off movie with Jason Statham and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and their characters. So Hobbs and Shaw. And David Leitch, one of the directors of John Wick, and of course the director of Deadpool 2, is directing that. So I'd say my level of excitement for The Division is still right where it was. I'm very much looking forward to it. But it makes me even more excited for Hobbs and Shaw. Because again, it's the most similar to Deadpool 2, and seeing what he did with Deadpool 2 in that kind of style is very exciting. Coolio Woolio writes, was Solo a one and done, or do you now want to see Solo 2? I'm not questioning how to answer that. I'm just questioning if I can answer it. Well, you know what? Earlier today I said it makes me want to see a Lando movie. So yeah, I totally want to see Solo 2. I do. I want to see a Solo 2 now. David Alvarado writes, I don't think the DCEU rushed. If you remove Incredible Hulk from the equation and consider Batman vs. Superman as Man of Steel sequel and Suicide Squad in lieu of a Batman origin, then the DCU followed MCU 1 very closely. No, it did. I kept trying to tell people when they go, Batman, like they rushed Justice League. No, they didn't. They didn't rush Justice League. They didn't rush it at all. As far as how many movies do you do before you do Justice League, they didn't rush it. No, they didn't. They may have rushed the filmmakers to get that movie out before the end of 2017. That they may have rushed them to do. But the overall principle of Justice League comes out here, they didn't rush it. That's not the problem. And I like the movie. But with all the problems that the film comes with, it wasn't that they rushed it. And all these people who think, oh, if they had followed this formula, that would have fixed it. No, formula is useless. Formula does nothing for you. Formula simply sets out your skeleton. It's about how do you execute? How do you put the meat on the bones? That's the important thing. Oh my gosh, everybody would love the DCU if they just did a Superman movie first, then a Batman movie, then a Wonder Woman movie, then a Flash movie, and then did Justice League. That would have fixed everything. It would have fixed nothing. Because none of that would have addressed any of the issues that most filmgoers had with the DCU movies, which was the execution of the movies. Formula's great, but if you're not executing the movies right, then the formula doesn't matter. The formula becomes inconsequential if you're not executing the film right. And the problem that most audience members have with the DCU films all surround the ideas of execution, not formula. Nobody walked out of Batman vs. Superman going, I hated that movie because I needed a Flash movie first. That's not why they didn't like it. It's all about execution. So I agree with you. I didn't feel it was rushed. It's about issues of execution. Donnie Yasu writes, I don't have assigned seating for my theaters in my area. Oh, God, man, I feel bad for you. Are seats given at random when you buy tickets, or do you pick them out? You pick them. So it's really simple. Like, I hop online to buy my tickets, and then when I say I want 4 tickets, boom, it opens up a map of the theater. And all the seats that are available are blue or whatever color, and all the seats that aren't available are red or whatever color. So you can see what seats are still available, and then you just click on the 4 seats you want, purchase your tickets. Boom! You get to pick your seats. And here's the other thing. If, like, this happens with some big movies, let's say you want to go see Deadpool 2 opening weekend, you go to the theater, you go online to buy your tickets. It says, yeah, there are tickets available, but it shows you, hey, just the front row is available. Well, now you have the option to go, well, you know what? I'm going to look for another screening then. I'm going to look for a screening later, or maybe at another theater that's close by, because I do not want to sit in the front row. It just gave you the option now to turn away. In old times, that apparently, unfortunately, Donnie, you still live in, apparently, because of where you live. I'm sorry about that. Are there still tickets available for Deadpool 2? Yep. Great, I'll buy those tickets. And then you walk in and you realize, oh, the only seats left are front row. Now you don't even have an option. You're there at the theater. You've already driven there. You bought your tickets, blah, blah, blah. Online, it's like, oh, looks like this, hey, hon, this one only has front row seating. Do we want to go anyway, or do we want to go to the 9:30 show instead? Look at the 9:30 show. Okay, so I cancel out of that. Look at the 9:30 show. Oh, yeah, lots of seats available for the 9:30, hon. Yeah, get the 9:30 one. Okay, and then I pick my 4 seats. So many advantages, but no. Pre-assigned seating is not buying your tickets and then it just assigns you seats. You actually get to pick your seats. You see which seats are still available, and you get to pick which seats you want from all the seats that are still available. It's a much better way to do things. Chris Parker writes, with Star Wars and Middle-earth TV series on the horizon, we must be approaching the peak of this golden age in television. Which do you think will be more popular? Oh, it's impossible to say. Impossible to say. Because we know nothing about either one. We know, for all we know, the Star Wars show is going to be the greatest show on television, and the Hobbit or the Lord of the Rings one that Amazon's doing is going to be a big steaming pile of garbage. For all we know, or vice versa. We just have no idea. So until we get much, much, much closer, I'm not even going to pretend to guess as to which one will be more popular, because anybody who is offering a guess right now is simply pulling it out of their ass. There is absolutely no basis. We've been given nothing to base any kind of an informed guess even. So I'm not even going to guess at that point. I'm not even going to guess right now. Coolio Woolio writes, does Alden at any point in Solo say, I'm an excellent driver in Dustin Hoffman's voice? Well, I'm not going to say anything. Warren Lucas writes, been really impressed with the work of David Litch / Chad Stahelski so far. Wick, Atomic Blonde, and sounds like Deadpool is a winner too. Yeah, I've been very impressed with these guys. I was a big fan of Atomic Blonde. I like Atomic Blonde more than most people do. There are some people that the movie just lost them, and that's fine. And I'm not putting words in their mouth like they said, this movie just lost me. So, which is fine. I really appreciate it. It wasn't like best movie of the year material or anything like that. Don't misinterpret me. But I was impressed with Atomic Blonde. I had a good time with it. It had its shortcomings, it had its flaws, but I quite enjoyed the movie. I really did. And it's really cool seeing what these two guys are doing. I hope we get to see them direct together again soon, which would be great. Matt Thornton writes, with Hasbro buying Power Rangers, what do you think the likelihood is of us seeing a movie sequel is? Sequel? Small. Very small. Why would you do a sequel to a movie that flops so hard? I mean, let me bring it up here. Power Rangers box office. Let's just make sure we got our numbers straight here. Okay, so this most recent Power Rangers movie made $142 million worldwide total. This movie took a bath financially. Took a bath. Why would you do a sequel to that? So I've got to believe that the good folks at Hasbro aren't so stupid that if they're going to do movies that they wouldn't reboot. Because this one was clearly a failure. And the funny thing is I liked it. And I poo-pooed the idea of a Power Rangers movie and all that kind of stuff. And then I went to go see it. And this is why, guys, I always tell you, it's cool to have expectations, positive or negative. Talk about why you think it's going to be good. Talk about why you think it's going to be crap. But it's important to make a distinction that, okay, that's fine. That's expectations. But once you go to the movie theater, you got to take those expectations and leave them outside. Don't bring the expectations into the movie theater with you. Leave them outside. And I did that with Power Rangers. Took all my negative expectations with Power Rangers, left them outside, go into the theater with a clean slate, and just watch the movie and judge the movie on the movie's own merits. And you know what? I had a good time with Power Rangers. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed myself. And that's why you got to leave expectations at the door. So you can go in, clean slate as much as possible, and sometimes you might just, you might be pleasantly surprised and just surprisingly enjoy yourself if you let yourself enjoy yourself. Leave the expectation, or maybe the movie will still be bad and it'll be crappy and you still won't have a good time, but at least give it a chance. And, but I don't see why they would do a sequel. That would seem to be a very bad decision to do a sequel with a movie that flops so badly. So I would guess. And I have no insider information on Hasbro when it comes to this, despite the fact that my wife works there. I have no insider information on this. My guess is that they will do another Power Rangers movie, but it'll be a reboot. That's my guess. I could be wrong. They might be stupid enough to do a sequel, maybe. But yeah, my guess is that they'll do a reboot. All right. In Poor Taste Humor writes, I love that name, Kung Pao 2. What kind of customer service is this? Very funny. I like that. Good callback. Good callback. Zuzu writes, what happened to Stardust videos and special guests? Well, I had a sponsorship deal with Stardust for a month, or a little over a month, and it expired. We ran out, so that's what happened to the Stardust videos. And special guests just found it wasn't working as well. I did a poll on the YouTube channel. I put up a poll on my YouTube community, and asking, how do you guys feel about movie news feed and how do you feel about special guests? And the response for special guests wasn't nearly as positive as for movie news feed. It's not that people were saying that they hated the special guests, but it just wasn't working out as well. It just wasn't being received as well by people. So I kind of leaned away from it. I mean, also, it's expensive to bring in guests because I got to pay the guests. I'm not one of these guys that I ask people to do things for free. If somebody gives their time, I pay them for it. I don't pay them huge, but I pay people for it. And it adds up. Once you do guest spots a number of times, it starts to add up. I haven't, and not to mention it takes more time because I can't do it live with the guests unless they're here in my studio. But then if they're here in my studio, they got to drive across town and make sure they're here when I do it and all that kind of stuff. What I was doing with my guests before is that the night before, I would just record it with them over Skype, and sometimes there's technical issues, all that kind of stuff. So it added more time to my schedule. It was financially more expensive, and I wasn't finding that my audience appreciated it as much as I appreciated it. So I kind of phased it out. Now, I am not saying I'm not doing special guests anymore. I'm not saying that. But I'm just not going to do it on a regular basis like I was looking. Because I was hoping to do special guests like 2 to 3 times a week. Now it'll probably be once or twice a month. So that's probably what that'll end up being. Let's see. Coolio Wurlio writes, better actress, Marina Baccarin or Haley Atwell? Ooh. I've seen Haley Atwell do some more diverse stuff. I haven't, other than Serenity, Gotham, Deadpool, because I know she also did V, but I didn't watch V. So all I've seen Marina Baccarin is playing this comic book sci-fi fantasy kind of roles, in which she's great. I love her in these roles. But I haven't seen her do anything outside of that. Haley Atwell, I think I've seen her do a few more things. It's impossible to say. For now, I'll lean towards Haley Atwell. But I say that begrudgingly because whenever somebody says, what do you like more, this or this? Whatever thing you don't pick, people go, oh, John hates that other thing. Just like right now, I'm sure people are going, oh, Campea hates Marina Baccarin, which couldn't be further from the truth. I think she's awesome. I love her. But given the context right now, I'll lean towards Haley Atwell, but don't hold me to that. Like I reserve the right to change my mind on that completely later. All right. Eddie Mason writes, thank you for a great interview with Aaron Cummings. Pity about the abrupt ending. I was so enthralled. I was shocked when it just ended. Love you as a critic, but an editor, not so much. Well, I mean, the thing is, we didn't record it to be in pieces. It had to end at some point, and there was no clean way to do it. And I'm a fucking good editor, by the way. I won't do this too much about a lot of the stuff that I do. I'm a fucking good editor. And believe me when I tell you that where I ended part 1 of the interview was the perfect place to block it off. That was the perfect place to do it. And you'll see that as we carry on. There was just no definitive cutoff spot. So I had to take all the footage I got, make a call as to where to break it off, find the best place to break it off. And it ends with her great her line is the best ending line in the interview, which is the people you serve as an actor. And that's a perfect ending spot. And it was a really good place. Now, normally people, when people want to give me constructive criticism, I go, hey, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But on this thing, I'll go, no, I disagree. I did a great job editing that. You have no idea how good of a job I edited that because you didn't see all the raw footage and how I pieced that thing together. But I did a fucking good job. I did a very good job with that. But yeah, but thank you for your comments about the interview there. And she is delightful and wonderful. And if you haven't had a chance, again, let me plug it again. Go and check it out. It's on my YouTube channel. Make sure you go watch it because it's really great. She's wonderful. Coolio Rulio writes, which are your top 3 least favorite questions to be asked? Very funny. Very funny. ZCM writes, Mr. Miyagi and Thanos would both get along from the idea of loving balance. Yes, they just have different ideas about what balance is. What truly is balance and what is not. Because Mr. Miyagi is about taking what you have and balancing what you have. Thanos' idea is Balance? I'll just kill half of everything. Miyagi's concept of balance wasn't about that. Miyagi's concept was about bringing balance. Whereas Thanos' idea is about enforcing balance through death and through subtraction and through culling, if you will. Miyagi's was about taking what you have and just bringing balance into it. So they had two very different ideas and philosophies about balance. Let's see. David Lillian writes, Josh Brolin as Thanos or Cable? Well, I mean, it's difficult to really compare them because one is him on screen performing the character. The other is his voice and some motion capture, but it's a digital character. It's hard to say. I'll tell you this. My preferred character is Thanos. Thanos is the better character, but Thanos is one of the best characters, maybe the best movie character we're going to have all year out of any genre of film. So that's not casting any shade on the Cable character whatsoever, because Cable's great. But I'll say that. As far as the better performance, it's difficult to say. It's very hard to compare when one is done via motion capture and digital, one is done with him live action, with digital touch-ups on him, but most of it is just him. So it's hard to compare the two. Let's see. Coolio Aurelio writes, after Solo, would you now be more up for a young Luke or Leia movie? No, look, you could make it and it could be good, but just make different movies. Why the fuck do we constantly have to go back to characters that we already know? The Star Wars universe is so big and vast and everything, and all we do is we seem to keep shrinking it and shrinking it and shrinking it and shrinking it, make it smaller and smaller and smaller. The analogy I came up with it the other day is exactly this. We treat Star Wars like it's a small town with a population of 400 people. If you go out for a walk, you're going to know everybody you bump into. It's going to be impossible for you to even go out to the store without bumping into somebody you know. That's how we've been treating Star Wars. Like it's a small town with a population of 400. And Star Wars should be this big, vast, infinite, universe with infinite characters and adventures and stories to tell. And while I really like Solo, I do, and I'm glad they did it, I would still, if you offered me an opportunity to go back in time and say, you could stop them from making Solo and get them to make another movie of a different place in the Star Wars universe with different characters and a different adventure, I would take that time travel machine and I would do that. That's not me knocking Solo. I had a really great time with Solo. I really did. And I am open to seeing another one with him and stuff like that. I am. But the fact that we've got a Solo movie makes me want a young Luke movie even less. Because we've already got a Solo. We've already got a younger version of a beloved character movie going. Do we have to do another one? So it just kind of compiles. It compiles the problem to me. Phil Lee writes, hear about the pastor at Avengers movie preaching about death and Jesus caused a panic. Nope, I haven't heard about that. And I have no concept what your context is either. So I don't know what he was saying. I don't know why it caused a panic. I mean, anybody who lives in any major city, you walk around and there's going to be some minister or preacher on some street corner preaching hellfire and brimstone. So I don't know why that would cause a panic. So no, I have not heard about the story. Maybe if I read the story, I'd understand the context a little bit more, Phil, but I'm unfamiliar with it. And you didn't give me enough details in there to kind of understand what it is we're going for there. But I'll look for that story. As soon as I'm done the show, I'll take a look online for that story. Matt Thornton writes, Star Wars 9 title revealed in Futurama 18 years ago. Perhaps. Let's see. Chris Parker writes, considering flying up from New Zealand for John Williams' concert, in your opinion, is it worth the 12-hour flight? Well, only you can decide that. I know for me, I really treasure going to the John Williams concert every year. The one they do at the Hollywood Bowl. I don't know if he does other ones. I'm sure he does. But the concert he does, the master of the music of the movies, or they call him the maestro of the movies, is his concert series, it's really... I enjoy and I look forward every year to going to that. But but is it worth a 12-hour flight? I wouldn't personally. Well, you know, if I'd never seen him and I knew he was about to retire, maybe I would. But that, again, it really all depends on you. How important would it be to you? Because every year he does his concert, it could be the final year he does these concerts. He's going to retire soon. He's going to retire and say, screw this, I just want to relax. I want to sit back, have a beer, watch some softcore porn, and just enjoy myself. He's got to hit that point at some point, right? So you got to decide that for yourself. To me, it might be worth it if I had never seen him already, and I knew it could possibly be the final one he does. It might be something you want to consider. All right, Warrington. Where'd Warrington go? Okay, Warrington Train Spotter writes, R.I.P. Margot Kidder, this is the true Lois Lane Superman. Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Rob Lau writes, hi, John. I meant no disrespect earlier. Margot Kidder truly is the defendant. Oh, no, of course you meant no disrespect. Obviously you didn't. No. No disrespect taken, Rob. I know you didn't infer any disrespect towards Margot Kidder or anybody else. Absolutely. I was just making an observation at all. No harm. No harm whatsoever. Don't you worry about it. Devontae Brown writes, John, you are mistaken, LOL. I meant S.H.I.E.L.D. was renewed for season 6. That's why I said fuck yeah. Oh, finale is Friday. Do you think Coulson dies? Well, I haven't even seen the newest episode. I never really had any serious doubt that it would get renewed for season 6. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's possible. But again, I haven't even seen this week's episode, so I'm behind. So let me see this week's episode, and then maybe I'll formulate a guess as to whether he dies or not. Let's see. Tiffany Hoffman writes, and then the last couple of questions here, guys. If you haven't sent in a super chat question, do not send one in now. We're already over an hour. Tiffany Hoffman writes, what is your thoughts on the Blacklist returning in January? Well, I mean, I don't know about January or anything like that, but just the fact that it's returning, I'm glad. It is one of the, I don't watch an awful lot of TV shows. Blacklist is one of the shows that I watch and enjoy. So I was happy that it got renewed again. I really am. I don't see them going too many more seasons. That next season might be their last, but I was happy that I got picked up for another one because I do enjoy that show. By the way, my friend Erin Cummings, who I've been pumping the interview with her in it, she just recently was in Blacklist this season. She was the main guest star on one of the episodes this season. So there's a little plug for that again. A Cap writes, John, what do you think if the Avengers go back in time through each movie, the Infinity Stones are in, and they need Ant-Man to steal the stones? Again, you're talking formula. Any formula you do can work if they do it well. So sure. I mean, it's not what I would pick, but that you could do that and it could work. But again, that's Felipe the Sentient Dancing Microphone. Any formula you suggest can be made into a great movie. I mean, for heaven's sakes, you take a movie about a bunch of plastic blocks, Lego. Make a movie about Lego. What a stupid idea. One of the most entertaining times you'll have at the movie theater. I mean, it's all about execution. So sure, that formula could work and a million other formulas could work. So yeah, whatever. Final question today. Opinion on fake deaths. Very funny. I'm not gonna get sucked into that. No way. All right, guys. That will do it for today's installment of Open Mic. Thanks so much for joining here. Guys, if you have not bought your tickets for Deadpool 2 or Solo, buy them both. Get your tickets reserved. Get out to see them. Don't forget, my Deadpool review goes up later today, and this Sunday at 2 p.m. we will do our Deadpool open spoiler discussion, to be followed by our first movie club session. So make sure you guys get caught up. Make sure you go and watch Gladiator this week, get reacquainted with it. And then the following Sunday, of course, we got Solo open spoiler discussion we're going to do. Whole bunch, and then tomorrow I have my Solo review. My official Solo review goes up tomorrow. Lots of stuff going on, and don't forget, the John Campea show, the main movie news show we do around here, has been put back to 8:30 in the morning. That just seemed to work better. Thank you guys for indulging me as I experimented with swapping the time slots, but it does seem like the time slot in the morning for it worked best, so that's what we're back to. Anyway, guys, that will do it for me. Thanks so much for being here. My name's John Campea, and until my next video, bye-bye.